Hey, friends, and welcome back to the Destiny Awaits podcast. I am your host, Andrea John, and I am so glad that you're here listening. As many of you know, we've been walking through the Sermon on the Mount, but we're taking a little bit of a break. Life has been beautifully full lately with travel and events, and it's Anna's senior year. Our family calendar is just packed all the way through June. Both of my girls are still wrestling and they're deeply involved in school activities. It's the end of the year and Anna's senior year, so there's just a lot happening. So much so that I had to print out a calendar and put it on the fridge and insist that everyone write in all the plans that they have, that we have, and make sure to let everyone know when we have to book time. For example, do not schedule anything on this day because of this activity. It's just so much going on, but it is a wonderful time. Now, as I mentioned, there was some traveling, and in past episodes, if you remember, I had said that we were going on college visits. So Anna has finally made her choice, and she has officially committed to continuing her academic and wrestling career at William Penn University in Iowa. As a mom, I am extremely proud of her. She is beyond what I was at her age. I'm proud of her not just because of her decision, but how she made it. She waited so patiently, and I had suggested to her early on, actually in her junior year, not to rush to make a decision to colleges, to keep her minds open, her options open, so that she could go to the best place. And you know what? She did exactly that. She waited patiently. She knew exactly what she was looking for. She had her list of priorities, and she did not settle until she found the school that checked all the most important boxes. And this school was wonderful. We both went to go visit, and I really loved it. I loved the environment. And happy to say that next time I visit, more than likely, we're going to be doing a book signing. So that's fun. While all of this is happening, I know that some of you are new listeners or you may not realize this, but I have a full time job. Ministry, the books, the content I create, this podcast, it all happens in my free time, in my spare time. And lately, with everything going on, if I'm being honest, I've just been feeling a bit fatigued, overwhelmed, but not like emotionally overwhelmed, just like mentally. There's just a lot going on, and my mind's always thinking and creating and all this stuff, but I'm in this place where my mind is just tired. Historically, I would have just gone silent and taken a break and not done any episodes, but I decided to change my approach to this a little bit because I wanted to continue providing you with content and giving you stuff that helps you uncover your identity, discover your purpose, and step into your destiny. And I truly love doing this. I love doing podcasts. I'm not always available to be on camera. I do work from home, thankfully, and I work out and I do all this stuff. So I'm not always pretty, which is why the introductions we've had over the last few weeks have been just audio. But you know what? Audio is better than all of it. So I'm just being authentic and real with you guys and letting you know that instead of just not creating content and putting it out there, I'm just adjusting how I'm doing it. Although not ideal and not what I would want, it's better than nothing. So here we are. Today's episode is a little bit of a break from the interviews. I do have another interview that I'm going to share soon, which is amazing. I helped Sandra launch her podcast, and I've been helping her do that. And last week, I actually had to miss doing her new episode because I was just so overwhelmed. But she'll have a new episode. So I'm kind of spacing that out from her launch, but I will be sharing the first episode that we did together because it was one that we did together. And the conversation was absolutely amazing. It's going to be called Spiritual Anatomy. And Sandra shares some incredible ideas and thoughts and approaches to living life that help us get back to our manufacturer settings. So, for those of you who followed me for a long time, you know that I talk about the divine design, how we're made in God's image, and Sandra uses the term manufacturer settings. So, we'll talk a little bit about that when we share that episode. But for today, I'm actually going to share something I recorded 3 years ago called To Judge or Not to Judge. At the time, I was in the middle of writing my book, The Journey, and I was processing a lot of concepts, literally, out loud in real time. So this episode, it's pretty raw and real. I was thinking out loud with all of you. It's just me thinking through this topic. And I hadn't yet fully settled on it. I hadn't thought through it. I was thinking through it live on camera. In this video, I talk a little bit about what it means for God to be judge, what justice means, and how what we understand about God being judge, how that influences how we judge or how we don't judge. Because are we supposed to judge or are we not supposed to judge? Because I've heard it both ways, and I've read verses that tell us to judge, to discern, and then I've read verses that tell us not to judge. So that's a little bit about what we'll be exploring. Once we get back into our study on the Sermon on the Mount, we're actually going to revisit this topic because some of the verses that I'm going to talk about in this video are actually in the Sermon on the Mount, which is why when this was shared with me, I thought this is perfect because since we're already in this topic, and I just felt like what I was talking through helps lay out where I was coming from, what I was thinking, why I was thinking it. I just thought there was so much value in it. And how awesome would it be for my podcast listeners and family and community to listen to it, maybe for the first time that you may not have ever heard it before, which is why I want to share it. So we're about to get into it. So grab your coffee or your water, put on your walking shoes, however it is that you listen to these podcasts, and join me in this throwback conversation that I have with the camera. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts after listening. And you know what? In the comments, because I want to get to know you guys better and I'm trying to think about ways to interact. If you happen to be a woman on Facebook, I have a private Facebook group called 31 Days of Proverbs 31, and it has that cover that I use for the devotional. So you can share there. It's a great way for us to get to know each other. If you're not, head over on Facebook. You can find me at Journey with Andrea John or on Instagram at The Journey with Andrea John, because I'd love to connect with you guys a little bit more and get to know you. So I just thought of something. In the comments below, wherever you're listening to this, I would love for you to share with me what you're usually doing when you listen to this podcast. Are you just sitting down with a notebook and listening to it? Are you out for a walk? Are you driving? Are you taking a shower? Like what? How are you listening to this? I know for me, I listen to podcasts when I'm on walks and on runs. That's the primary way that I listen. Sometimes I put it on if I'm washing the dishes or cooking dinner. It's just the easiest way to listen to. And then when I'm studying, I'll grab a notebook and I'll sit down and listen to it. But I'm usually on a walk when I'm listening. So how is it that you're listening to me right now? Well, thank you so much for being here. I love you guys. I appreciate you so much. Don't forget to like and share. And now let's dive into this throwback conversation, and don't forget to share your thoughts afterwards.
As I was working on some stuff this morning, I did actually get a thought. So I was like, let me just jump on. Let me preface this with, I have not thought about this. I have not processed it. Like, this is a conversation. So I'm going to talk out loud about this. And you guys are going to watch how my brain kind of works as I process this. Okay. So there's two camps on this whole judgment thing. Okay. On judging others, right? There's some who say, do not judge. And there's verses in the Bible that actually tell us not to judge. There's verses, okay, singular verses that tell us not to judge. Like in Matthew 7, and I think the other one's like in Luke, and there's other places, right? But then there's another camp of people who say, the Bible tells us that we should discern and we should judge by their fruits and all this stuff, right? So then the question becomes to judge or not to judge, because if you read the Bible holistically, it's there twice, and it's saying things that seem to be opposing in thought, right? So that causes me to question things. What is happening? What is going on? Why is the Bible telling us to judge in one place, telling us to judge, not to judge in one place, telling us to judge in another place? Like, what is happening? So one of the things, kind of funny actually, I don't have it here. I think it's in my backpack. As I'm diving in deeper into some of the concepts that I have in the book, one of the things that I've started to learn about is actually God as judge, because God is love. That's his essence. Everything that God does comes from him being love. Okay. So even his judgments and his wrath and his discipline, all of it comes out of his love. But I can't deny that the scriptures also say that God is judge. He's a judge. He was judge of Israel, and the Bible had tons and tons of scriptures are how God is our judge, right? So I wanted to understand more. What exactly does that mean? Now, I knew a concept about judges in the Old Testament that I never really dove into, really didn't feel like I had to at that time, because it made a whole lot of sense to me. And it's just, when you know God is love, there's certain things that's just kind of like, okay, I can grasp that. But when everyone around you doesn't grasp it, or most people don't grasp it because of our Western culture, you have to kind of, like, this the way I am, right? I have to dive in and understand, because I don't want to be foolish, and I don't want to go and explain things that, kind of talk out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, I like to be educated. So this concept was in the Old Testament, even in the book of Judges, when you look at what Judges is actually called, a judge in Hebraic culture wasn't someone who would punish those who did wrong, basically, or broke the laws. The concept of judge, and God as judge, is one who comes to make things right. Okay. So they're there to protect those who are weak, those who are less fortunate. They're really there to bring justice. Okay. And justice is not about punishing those who do wrong. It's about everyone living whole and complete. Okay. So that's kind of the concept. Again, I've not prepared. These are just random Thursday thoughts. So I'm just kind of talking through it. Okay. So got this book, God Loves Justice, started reading it, posted about it the other day. Absolutely love it so far. I like her writing style. She's very legit. Like, you could tell that she put a lot of work into this. Although I don't think she's a theologian, she is a very educated person, and she wrote her book in a way that, like, a theologian would give credence to. So, for example, my book is not written that way. My book has theological thoughts and academic principles and concepts, but written in the everyday language.
Hi, friend. I want to take a break really quick. If you've been listening to this podcast and you're feeling stirred to grow deeper in your faith, not to just learn about God, but truly encounter Him, I would like to personally invite you to check out my book, The Journey: Explore, Discover, and Experience Love. This is not your average Bible study. It's a guided, interactive experience designed to help you uncover your identity, discover your purpose, and step into your God-given destiny. Each chapter includes a devotional, scripture, space for reflection, journal prompts, a prayer, and even a worship song to help you go deeper, not just in knowledge, but in connection with God. If you've been wondering where to start, The Journey is a beautiful place to begin. Grab your copy on Amazon or head over to andreajohn.com/resources. You can also find the link in the show notes below. Now let's get back to our conversation.
Okay, I do have references in there, but not like her. Like, this girl's legit. Like, she has tons of references in the back. It's really, really good stuff. But it's written in a way that's very easy to understand. So she kind of talks about the concept of what not judging, like what justice really is, and things like that. And she goes into details around like our Western culture and how we see judge. Like, when we think of judge, we think of a judge behind a desk with a witness on the side, and he's there to determine if the person's guilty or innocent. That is not what judging was in the Old Testament. Okay. Judging was to make things right, to bring things whole. It could consist of giving a consequence to someone who's broken the law, but the objective was not to punish. The objective was to make right what was wrong. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Also, take note of my of my bookmark, because I have so many hotel cards, because we stay at hotels so often, that I have so many. Like, guys, look at this. Let me just show you real quick. This is my like study desk right now. Look at all the books. Like, this is my mess. That's me getting ready for the retreat. And yeah, all my books. See, so I need lots of bookmarks. So the hotel cards like come in handy, so I don't throw them out. Oops. Okay. All right. So there's that. So now that we have that concept, right, it leads me to, do we judge? Do we not judge? Now, the concept of who we are, who we're designed to be, we were designed in the image and likeness of God, right? So we were designed to look and be like God. So if God is judge, in essence, we're judge. But what does that mean? Again, this is not about going out and judging people and punishing them for what they've done wrong or to point fingers. No, it's about making things right. And as a whole, in Hebraic culture, everyone understands that justice is the responsibility of all. It's not just a responsibility of a judge. It's a responsibility of the whole, of all of society, of all of community. Okay. So you and I were created to be judges, not to punish or criticize others, but to make things right, to make things whole. Now, when we go into Matthew, the only thing I did prepare was I went into the Sermon on the Mount, because it's actually part of my book, and I actually just read it the other day for the audiobook. So it was kind of also on the top of my mind, because I knew it was in the Sermon on the Mount. So Matthew 7, it says, and this is the New Living Translation, "Do not judge others, and you will not be judged. For you will be treated as you treat others. The standard you use in judging is a standard by which you will be judged." So this is telling you not to judge. Why? Because of the wisdom behind what happens when you judge. When you judge others, okay, you will be judged according to your judgment. So if you judge someone, whatever standard you set for that person, or however you judge that person, know that you will be judged that way. That is a natural consequence. That is kind of like a law. If you judge, you will be judged to that same degree. This is why with Jesus House and the ministries that I'm a part of, there is no public judgment or condemnation against any ministry or any fellow believer ever. Not publicly. Why? Because as easily as someone can create lies and distort someone's life, they can do the same thing to me. They can make YouTube videos about me. They could take things out of context so easily. And this is why I don't do it. Unless you have a personal relationship with that person or you know them, you have no place to judge. These public figures, people like Bill Johnson, Steve Furtick, Jensen Franklin, anyone, Sean Foy, whoever it is, Torben Sondergaard, you have no right to judge them if you don't know them. And a lot of these videos are judging very harshly. And if we were to look at their lives, they'd have no place. Actually, as a matter of fact, verse 5 would come into play. Hypocrite. First, get rid of the log in your own eye. Then you will see enough to deal with the speck in your friend's eye. And then it says, don't waste what's holy on people who are unholy. Don't throw your pearls to pigs. They'll trample the pearls, then turn and attack you. Why is this even there? Again, context is so important. Reading not the Beatitudes, because the Beatitudes is only a portion of the Sermon on the Mount. Reading all of the Sermon on the Mount is so, wow, it's so powerful, guys. It really is. Like Matthew 5-7, read it straight through without stopping. Red letters, Jesus's teachings. You'll see an underlying theme. This is part of my book. It's amazing. Okay. Like really enlightening, and you'll receive revelation. But what it's saying here is this. Look at yourself. Look at yourself and make sure that you're not going to go and help or point out someone's issue if you have an issue yourself. Go fix your issue. Go deal with your stuff. And when you deal with your stuff, you know what's going to happen? And this is like my experience with this. When you deal with your stuff, you're going to be able to better help other people. And when I say help, I don't mean just point out their error, because our life and being a judge, being like God in that sense, is not about pointing out the error. It's about bringing the truth in. It's about bringing freedom. Okay. So when it says here, hypocrite, go get rid of the log of your own eye, go fix yourself first. When you read the Bible, when you listen to sermons, don't think about that person who needs to hear this. Think about yourself. Think about, how does this apply to me and how can I become a better person? And I'm telling you that when you change your life and you become a better person, you're going to know how to help that person, because you know what it took to bring you out of it. And you're going to have a lot more compassion for others. Now, just because you have changed your life and you did fix something and you see a speck in someone's eye, don't think that those people are going to listen to you. If you've gone through something and your life has been radically changed, like the love of God has radically changed my life, and I know how to receive it. I know what it takes to receive life transformation from the love of God. I know what it takes to kick fear out the door. But that doesn't mean that when I see it in someone else's life, that I'm going to have success in helping them. And this is where that verse 6 comes in. Don't waste what's holy on people who are unholy. Don't throw your pearls to pigs. They will trample the pearls and then turn and attack you. Why is this here? Like, if you read it, you're going to look at this and be like, why in the world is this here? It makes no sense. It's so out of place, but it's not. Because what it's telling you is this: go get rid of the log in your own eye. Then you'll see well enough to deal with the speck in your friend's eye. But don't throw pearls before swine, because they may not know how to handle it. And then they're going to trample you, and then they're going to turn around and attack you. What is that saying? Just because you can now see the speck in someone's eye and you know how to help them pull out does not mean that you need to be giving them advice or throwing your pearls at them, because they may not be in a place to handle it. And then what's going to happen is they may turn around and turn against you, even though you're just trying to help. There needs to be wisdom when we go and help someone. This is why it's so important that we deal with the speck in our own eye first. Because I'm telling you from experience that when you do that, you're going to be in a much better position to help someone when you see the speck in their eye. And you're going to know and have the relationship with God and understanding and wisdom to know when to show them your pearls and when not to show them your pearls. Just because you know what can help someone doesn't mean that you should be giving someone advice. Doesn't mean they want advice. Doesn't mean they'll accept advice. Remember, you can't force someone to listen. So know this. Okay, so now in these random thoughts that I was not planning, and I just talked through it a little bit with you guys, kind of in the end, what do I take from this? Judge or don't judge? There is a place for judgment. Okay, we are created in the image and likeness of God. God is judge, and like him, we are to judge. We are judge as well. But judge, okay, so I'm summarizing kind of what we've been talking about. So judge is not to punish those who did wrong. Judge is not to condemn. I think a lot of people judge, but they're not judging in the biblical sense. They're not judging in from the image and likeness of God. They're actually condemning, and they're using the word judge, and they're using the word discern. Some people use the word discern, but they're actually judging, and not judging in the way that we were created to judge. They're judging from the Western concept. They're punishing what's wrong. They're criticizing, they're condemning, they're not judging. Judging from God's perspective is to make things right, it's to make things whole and make things complete. So when you go to judge something, just make sure that you are whole and complete, especially in that area, because as Jesus said, to the same degree that you judge is how you will be judged. This is a natural law. This is a spiritual law that was put into place. It's a consequence. So if you don't want people to judge you unfairly, then you need to make sure that you're not judging people unfairly. Again, to me, public condemnation, public judgment from the Western point of view is a huge no-no. I don't do it. If I don't agree with someone, trust me, you probably will never know unless I have a very deep relationship with you. Okay, so that's one. The caution in judging is be careful because you're going to be judged to the same degree that you judge. Now, the other concept is this. Don't be a hypocrite. Okay, that's what Jesus was saying. Don't be a hypocrite because don't go and point out a speck in your brother's eye when you have something in your eye. Go a speck in their eye. Actually says, don't go and point out a speck in someone else's eye when you have a whole plank coming out of your eye. Go deal with your plank, and then your eyesight will be better so you can go help the person and remove the speck from their eye. Okay. But then, so what is that saying? Go deal with yourself first. Trust me when I say that when you deal with yourself first, you're going to start having a lot more wisdom on how to help others. Okay. It doesn't mean you can't help others when you're dealing with stuff. That's not what I'm saying, because I actually think giving when you're going through stuff to some people, it really is a cup filler. Okay. But what I'm saying is refrain from judgment and just focus on yourself and focus on fixing yourself. And then lastly, even if you do work on getting that plank out of your eye and you do work on it, right? And you've been delivered from it or you're free from it or whatever, you've learned so much from it and you know how to get freedom. And now you can look at your brother and say, I can help you get rid of that speck. Just make sure that you're not throwing that wisdom, those pearls before swine. Because if they don't know how to handle it, they're going to trample it on it and then they're going to turn around and they're going to despise you for it. Okay. So that's kind of like the little nuggets of treasure that we find in my little random Thursday thoughts today. Thinking about judging and what that means and kind of some of the things that I have processed and thought about, but never like I'm big into let's take a thought from start to finish. So I'm processing this whole concept. Clearly, I am because I have this amazing book that I'm reading and doing lots of research because all of the stuff that's in my book right now is really just layman's terms, taking some theological concepts and academic things and putting it in the language of everyone. It's not written in any sort of academic way. So a theologian probably would be like, you don't have enough references in your book, blah, 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 blah. That's not why I wrote the book. Okay. The book is just, it's a journey. It's my journey. It's what we've gone through and what you're going to go through. And it's just leading you. It's kind of like, let's start on this together. And now I'm after like, I have some time, I'm going to really, my next book is probably going to be a little bit more solid in terms of that stuff written like Jessica's book because she wrote it so well. But yeah, so those are my random Thursday thoughts for today: to judge or not to judge. That's really, it is the question, but that question, if if you've been with me through the video, that question is really has a lot of moving parts, much like a lot of things in Christianity. Not, it's very few things that are black and white. Like a lot of things, there's many things to consider. It's not simple. Like a conversation needs to be had, and we need to learn, and we need to dive deep. So one, be cautious when you judge. Make sure that you're not being a hypocrite. Make sure that you're working on yourself above everything. Make sure that when you are judging or discerning something, that you're not really condemning and punishing, because that's not what the Bible's telling us to do. When the Bible tells us to discern and to judge, it's not telling us to punish and to condemn. It's really telling us to make things right, to make things whole, to bring wholeness. Don't ever, like, this is something I try to do, and I'm going to make myself accountable to you guys. When I post things, when I share things, I try to never point out a wrong or say, here, this is what's wrong, or this is a wrong thought, or this is a wrong belief, or whatever. If I do, I really try to follow it up with what's right, or how to make it right, or what is the truth. Because I don't want to just point something out wrong. I don't want to just punish and condemn. I want to lead to what's right and make things whole. So I'm like publicly here to all of my social media followers and stuff. Like, if I ever make a post where I fail to make things right, and I fail to bring wholeness and completeness, where if I'm pointing out a wrong, I fail to show how to make it right, I want you guys to hold me accountable. Like, comment, it could be public, and say, hey, so where do I go from here? Or what's the road that leads to the opposite of what you just said? If I forget or I fail, because, sometimes I could forget or fail depending what's going on, or maybe I'm thinking I'm bringing concept of wholeness, but it's really not helpful, or really didn't, or it sounds kind of judgy and condemning. So there are times, you know what? I am going to judge things. I am going to condemn things, not people, but things. But I'm always going to I always try to lead to wholeness and completeness. And what's the road that leads to what's going to bring joy, peace, abundance, and love? What's going to bring wholeness in that situation? So I encourage you to try and live your life that way too, because, I really think that pointing out what's wrong there's a place for it. But when it's not followed up with truth and wholeness, and the path that leads to the opposite of whatever it is, I'm really like, it's a disservice. Like, what's the point of pointing out darkness? Let's shine the light, right? Let's shine the light and show people the way. So to judge or not to judge is really not the question in the end, right? It's really about, have I looked at myself? Am I okay with being judged to the same degree that I'm judging? That's number one. Number two, have I looked at myself, and am I working on myself? And number three, you can't force advice on people. You can't force people to change, even if you do know the truth. And not everyone is worthy of the wisdom. It's not that they're not worthy. Let me change that. Because everyone is worthy of the wisdom that you have. Not everyone will know how to handle that wisdom. And sometimes it's not the moment or the time to place the pearls out there, because if you do, they're not going to know how to handle it, and then they may actually turn against you. So that's kind of the summary of what we've talked about. So I hope this helps. Like, what do you guys think? If you've been with me through this, okay, whether you're listening on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, my podcast, whatever, okay, I want to hear from you. What do you guys think? Does this make sense? Do you guys have any questions? Do we need to expand on this anymore? Is there anything else that you want me to explore? Does this spark any questions that you have that you want to ask? So comment below, message me. If you're on my podcast, you're always welcome to either comment or message me on my social media app, on the social media apps, or you can email me at hello@andreajohn.com, because I'd love to hear from you. Like, are you finding these things beneficial? Are you finding them helpful? And if you have a question that you want to explore, and maybe you're too afraid, like, you don't have to publicly ask. If you're too afraid to ask, or like it's something like way out there, or maybe you just want to know what I think about something, ask me. I have no qualms. I have no shame. I will address anything. If I'm really not sure, like today, I'm telling you, I'm just talking. I haven't really planned anything out. So, let's explore. Let's explore together. This is what the journey is all about. Doing it together, learning together. So I want to hear from you guys. And that's it. So have a wonderful Thursday. We're almost to the weekend. So tomorrow is the pre-sale of the journey. So that's going to be in Kindle version. The full launch is on November 23rd. So I'm so excited. So November 23rd, you're going to be able to get the Kindle. You're going to be able to get the copy of the book. And I'm hoping that the Audible is ready by then. But if not, it'll be ready like soon after that. So are you ready for the journey? Because it's going to be an adventure. And to be honest, hey, look, we're already started. So continue on this journey with me. Let's talk. I want to hear from you, because I hate to just like be talking and not have feedback and hear from you guys. So remember that if you're blessed by this, make sure to share it, because if it blessed you, it'll bless everyone else you know. So love you guys, and have an awesome day. Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today and listening in on this throwback episode. I hope that it gave you something to think about, maybe even challenged you in the best way. I know that the conversation wasn't polished or perfectly packaged, but sometimes those like raw in-process reflections are the most relatable, because it gives you a little bit of insight into our minds. And I feel like we all have a lot more in common than we don't. Now, as I said in the beginning, we're still on a pause from the Sermon on the Mount series, but we are going to pick up this back up soon, because this is part of the Sermon on the Mount. And when we do, Mike and I will dive deeper into this topic of justice and judgment and all that stuff from a fresh perspective and with a little bit more solid ground. Until then, if anything in today's episode sparked a question, or if you want to process it out loud like I did, I'd love to hear from you. You can comment below, message me on any of my socials, or shoot me an email at hello@andreajohn.com. I do read every message, and I enjoy hearing and interacting with you guys. It is such a pleasure. So if there's anything that we missed, or that I missed because I was the only one on this episode, that you think I should include or consider when we get back to this topic, definitely let me know. Or if you have a question, Mike and I would love to address it on the podcast. More than likely, if you have a question, other people out there have a question. And there could be times where I have a thought in my head and I have something as just a given. I just know it, so I don't think to explain it, to include it, to elaborate on it. And if that's the case, then it's possible that it's affecting other people too. So definitely stand up and say something if something's not making sense, I'm missing something, or you have a question. And if you're looking for a little bit more encouragement and teaching on identity, purpose, destiny, be sure to check out some of the other past episodes, because before we started on the Sermon on the Mount, I have several. I know that we're almost to the 100th episode, so there's plenty out there for you to check out. You also have the reading plans on the Bible app. So if you go to the YouVersion Bible app, if you don't have it, there are reading plans. It's usually the icon on the bottom middle of the screen. And you can look me up, and I have a few out there if you want to read through it. There's so much stuff that I put out there. I have my website, andreajohn.com. I have some posts out there, and I had to go on a new internet platform, so I did lose some of my blog posts from the past, but I'm hoping to revive some of them and put them out there. But you can go out there and check out what's there now. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a quick review. It does help other people to discover the podcast, and it just means the world to me. Like I said, this is a side gig. I make no money on it. At this point, it's just ministry. And it's just because I want to give people all the gold and treasure that God has given me that's impacted my life and changed so much for me. And I want everyone to have it. So by you liking, commenting, sharing, and all of that, it really does help spread the word. Thank you for making time here today and just being here with me. Just keep on reflecting God's image. You don't have to be perfect. It's about becoming. Your destiny isn't waiting in the far off future. You are walking in it right now. And the whole purpose of this is to help you realize that. Until next time, take care and stay close to the one who made you. We will chat next week. Bye.